Greetings, people. Welcome back to another one. This one here, based on the justice system of Jamaica. There's somewhere yesterday, one conversation I go on, and it's a conversation about who's scared of by-election and all of them things then. Some history about some things will happen during by-elections and how much man all in a prison right now all are rotten. We got jail during by-elections and all of them things there. One person come out and say, them no wrong, the opposition not to contest, cause maybe then go identify somebody for contest the seat and the person end up dead from cancer by the date of election if you arrive. So, the man I say, they have a way to make people dead from cancer, from something will look like cancer. And the coroner announced, say a cancer. And they say one politician woman, we could have upset one apple cart on the north coast, northeast there. Suddenly, dead the other day in August, if we not here. Say one woman dead, must be Portland now center, must somewhere about there, from cancer, where it was all surprise to all our brother when people are telling him say cancer, she dead from suddenly. It was shocking. And I tell them, I mention say I have one brethren right now, where him and some of them officials have case of court, police, whole heap of police involved when the top harassment the man. And they tell me about the man. So they tell me about the man and the case and who which judge them. It look like people buy out and them sink the man. And it look like the man say it look like them a milk him. Like them a milk out everything they can get out of him before they deal with the case in any way. Because the case must just have put off something. So a while ago, I come in, drop back in a place and decide. And John know me, I go look up this story, see if I find anything about it. And people, I go buck up in our vastness of information. I go make you listen to it. You find out about what going on people. All of the names them will involve and the amount of promotions that go on and the amount of trailing to make sure the case the on track, everything in order, and him get milked. Listen people.
Big corruption promoted by Jamaica's Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang and Commissioner of Police, Major General Anthony Anderson in the Inspectorate. Adjuda Silveira. Educator, public health specialist, social scientist, medical technologist. Freelance lecturer and small bus operator. The 7th of February, 2022. Big corruption promoted by Jamaica's Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang and Commissioner of Police, Major General Anthony Anderson in the Inspectorate and Professional Standards Branch of the Police Force with Head ACP Mr. MacArthur Sutherland. On the 11th of August, 2021, I sent a report with a request to the Commissioner of Police Major General Anthony Anderson and Minister Dr. Horace Chang about a major corruption in the Inspectorate and Professional Branch of the Jamaican Police Force by ACP MacArthur Sutherland in charge and Inspector Howell for what is their corrupt style of handling complaints against police officers. To date, I have not seen any outcome of the matter being addressed by the Minister and the Commissioner despite the reminder sent in September 2021. Clearly covering up the corruption while showing no regard for the rights of the ordinary people in Jamaica. In one instance, the complaint of the false arrest and assault by policeman Kirk Bulgin in 2018 cannot show any outcome up to this present day. In addition, The ACP MacArthur Sutherland and Inspector Howell of the unit continue to corruptly hide from me the station reports and the emergency 119 report that I made asking for help. Policeman Kirk Bulgin is Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett's bodyguard, and Minister Bartlett supports the illegal activity of his bodyguard Kirk Bulgin and covers up for other tourism officials involved in the matter, David Dobson, Dr. Carey Wallace, and Delano Sivewright. At the time I brought the matter to the attention of Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett, and all he did was ignore me. In another instance, a grossly unlawful raid and search were carried out on my house in March 2020 by Inspector Earl Grant and Inspector G. Pennington without a search warrant or any warrant to arrest anyone. The incident stems from Inspector Earl Grant, who lives in the community where I live and is carrying malicious action against a family member of mine who had a case with the law in the year 2000, in which Earl Grant was one of the police officers involved in the case. The case was dealt with by the court and concluded then. In 2019 the family member, a free man, was walking to my home to collect something from me, whom I made the arrangement with him. On his way to my home, Inspector Earl Grant, while in an off-duty state, stopped the man and searched the man a few lots away from my home. He then dragged the man to my house, where told him he was going, pushed him down in my house veranda. Fortunately, I was nearby in the house when the family member shouted for my help that Grant trying to kill him. I immediately looked and saw Inspector Earl Grant pointing his gun at him. My immediate intervention prevented a murder from taking place. In March 2020, Inspector Earl Grant maliciously carried false information to the Halfway Tree Bureau of Special Investigation that the man is living at my home, and arranged the illegal raid and search on my home, without a search warrant and without a warrant to arrest anyone for a crime. The raid was carried out with several police and soldiers in great harassment and humiliation to me, where I was physically pushed aside and harassed by the instruction of Earl Grant. The matter was reported to the Inspectorate and Professional Branch on Mac 23, 2020. In April 2020, Earl Grant was served with a notice by the investigating officer to provide a statement on the incident within 7 days. Up to 1 year later, 2021, when I checked, Earl Grant had not provided a statement and was not put before the court for disobeying the order in keeping with the procedure. Another report was made against Inspector Earl Grant to the Inspector and Professional Bureau, IPROB, on April 2021, for his vindictive action against me while he is the inspector in charge at the Matilda's Corner Police Station. Inspector Earl Grant failed to have an arrest carried out in the matter I reported and gave a statement at the Matilda's Corner Police Station in another incident. Nothing has been done about any to date. The questions are: 1. Why is Inspector Earl Grant not charged yet? 2. Why is Inspector Earl Grant still the commanding officer at the Matilda's Corner Police Station? In another case, a report to the Inspectorate and Professional Bureau, IPROB, in April 2019 against Woman Constable Landell for assaulting me twice in the Halfway Tree Court. To date, I have not heard or seen any outcome. It is my understanding that after the complaints have been investigated by the unit, they are then sent to the Commissioner, Major General Anthony Anderson, for a decision. The question is: why is Commissioner Major General Anthony Anderson promoting corruption in Jamaica? Massive corruption in Jamaica Police Department. IPROB, involving ACP MacArthur Sutherland, Commissioner Anthony Anderson and Minister Horace Chang. The 12th of February, 2024. IPROB is the Inspectorate and Professional Oversight Bureau of the Jamaican Police Force, which is mandated to address complaints against police officers who carry out unprofessional and unlawful behavior to members of the public. Assistant Commissioner of Police, ACP, Mr. MacArthur Sutherland is the current head of IPROB. IPROB itself is highly corrupt, and the corruption is well supported by the Commissioner of Police Major General Anthony Anderson and Minister of National Security, Dr. Horace Chang. Complaints filed at IPROB for the illegal and unlawful actions of police officers against members of the public are corruptly swept under the carpet by IPROB and Commissioner of Police Anthony Anderson. Complaints from as far back as 2018 have not been addressed by the IPROB and the Commissioner Anthony Anderson. As was told to me by members of IPROB, after the complaints are investigated, the file is sent to the Commissioner of Police for ruling on them. Hence it is clear that the Commissioner of Police Anthony Anderson is promoting one of the biggest corruption in Jamaica, as no action has been taken against any of the accused police officers to date. Either complainant have not been advised of any outcome to any of the complaints, and I am sure other complainants are experiencing the same. Instead, what I see is the accused police officers are still carrying out their duties and being promoted into high ranks. Clear examples are policeman Kirk Bulgin, who carried out an assault, occasional body harm and unlawful arrest to me in 2018. No action has been taken against him to date, while the complaint report is at IPROB from 2018. Kirk Bulgin is still the bodyguard for Minister of Tourism Edmund Bartlett. Clearly political corruption is what run the Jamaica Constabulary Force, as the corrupt Minister of Tourism Edmund Bartlett knows everything about the incident, so nothing is being done about it. Policeman Earl Grant, who carried out illegal assault in my private home in 2018 by illegally trespassing on my property without any lawful full reason to be there and while in an off-duty state. Clearly a malicious action against one of my family member. Secondly, the same policeman Earl Grant in another malicious action was the leader in carrying out an unlawful raid and search on my house and property without any search warrant for anything in 2020. They left shamefully empty-handed, as nothing unlawful was found on my property. Earl Grant gave false information to the other police officers. The complaint is at IPROB from 2020, and to date no action is taken against him. At one stage when I checked on it, I was told by an IPROB officer that Earl Grant was to be charged and put before the court for disobeying an order to provide a statement within 30 days. To date Earl Grant has not been charged for anything. Instead, I heard he has been promoted. Obviously the complaints at IPROB have been dumped in the garbage. In all criminal complaints against police officers, the investigated files must be sent to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution, DPP, for a ruling. Has any ever been sent to the DPP for a ruling? No, the corrupt Commissioner of Police Major General Anthony Anderson is his own court of law. He dumped the complaints and promote the police officers. Not only is IPROB and the Commissioner of Police Anthony Anderson dumped the complaints, they also corruptly hide information from the complainants who need information about the complaints and the police officers to carry out civil actions in court. From 2018, in the Kirk Bulgin matter, I requested a copy of a 119 call log report from IPROB, which I know for sure it is there on the file, as the officer who investigated the matter told me it is on the file. While the investigating officer is no longer with IPROB, I made the first request to Inspector Mr. Howell at IPROB. The highly corrupt Inspector Howell refused to give me a copy of the report. His behavior is highly corrupt because there is no law which prevents him from giving me, the complainant, a copy of the report, and I am lawfully entitled to it. The Commissioner of Police Anthony Anderson and the Minister of National Security Dr. Horace Chang was written to about getting the report, but none of the corrupt criminals respond to my request. The report is in hiding because it implicates a Ministry of Tourism official, Dr. Carey Wallace, and the Minister of Tourism bodyguard, Policeman Kirk Bulgin. That is the political and criminal corruption coming out of the Ministry of Tourism in Jamaica. How can tourists trust to come to Jamaica when there is such criminal corruption in the Ministry of Tourism? That and other information I requested from IPROB. The Commissioner of Police Anthony Anderson and Minister of National Security Dr. Horace Chang. Here are copies of the latest requests sent with no respect of courtesy of a reply to date. Silvra Ajuda. From sajuda@yahoo.com. To iprob@jcf.gov.jm. CC, Secretariat@jcf.gov.jm, Security Minister @mns.gov.jm. Thu, the 18th of January at 7:29 p.m. The officer in charge of IPROB. IPROB. Duke Street, Kingston. Dear Sir / Madam. Request made on the 11th of August 2023 for information about 2 police officers to which complaints are filed at IPROB. The 2 police officers are Constable Kirk Bulgin and Woman Constable Landell. Constable Landell report made the 29th of April 2019. Request for 1. The full name of the officer. 2. The current location of the officer. 3. A copy of the report receipt. Constable Kirk Bulgin report made the 31st of July 2018. 1. A copy of the diary entries made in the matter at the New Kingston Police Post on the 30th of July 2018. 2. A copy of the report receipt. 3. A copy of the 119 call log report that I made to the 119 emergency in the incident and the response report. The above information are needed for court procedure purpose. I am asking for the information be made available to me urgently, by Friday the 26th of January 2024. I would certainly appreciate the cooperation. Look forward to your reply. Yours truly. Silvra Ajuda, Mr. And. Complaint against the major act of corruption at the Inspectorate and Professional Oversight Branch of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, IPROB. Yahoo /sent. Silvra Ajuda. From sajuda@yahoo.com. To Secretariat@jcf.gov.jm, Security Minister @mns.gov.jm. CC Prime Minister of Jamaica, Mark Golding, Milton Walker, editorial @gleanagem.com, editorial @jamaicaobserver.com, and 2 more, Mon, the 29th of January at 12:59 p.m. The Commissioner of Police, Major General Anthony Anderson and Minister of National Security, Honorable Dr. Horace Chang. Kingston, Jamaica. Dear Sirs. Complaints at IPROB from 2018 onwards against police officers with no outcome to date, and the corrupt withholding of information about the complaints and officers to facilitate me filing civil actions in the court of law. From 2018 up to last year 2023 I have outstanding complaints at IPROB, to which I have not been able to hear any outcome to any of the complaints to date. I have since made request in August of 2023, for information about two of the officers to which complaints have been filed in 2018 and 2019. For which I need to proceed with civil court actions in the matters as a legal representative. However, to date IPROB has ignored my request, and which was renewed on the 18th of January 2024 as was copied to you. To date not even the courtesy of a reply. To date I have not seen anything done about any of the police officers, and instead I believe they have been promoted with no action taken against any of them. Now IPROB is hiding information about the complaints and the police officers. Kindly address this matter most urgently. I would certainly appreciate your cooperation and reply. Yours truly. Silvra Ajuda, Mr. Copy retailed for international publication as may be necessary. To date I have not had the courtesy of a reply from any of these corrupt criminals that I sent the requests to. There is absolutely no law which prevents them from giving me copies of the information requested as the complainant in all and as a lawful representative for myself. Their actions are blatantly criminally corrupt. Then you wonder why crime is so high in Jamaica when these are the same persons in charge of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, who are themselves carrying out criminal corruption and promoting criminality in Jamaica. The corruption in the Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, continues. Just last year a fraudulent report was inserted at a police station about me by two highly corrupt police officers, Corporal G. Mana and Constable Joel Corleder. The corrupt Corporal Mana when called me and told me about the report, I made it abundantly clear that I knew nothing about such incident and that I was at my home, she could come and find me there. That is 5 minutes away from the station. She did not come. I went to the station the following day to give a statement and to have the matter investigated. The inspector was not there, and the other two corrupt officers refused to take a statement from me. I tried to get a meeting with the inspector Lorna Fowler, sent messages both oral and written emails to her. The corrupt inspector Lorna Fowler refused to reply to my messages and to meet with me. I went to IPROB and report the matter. While they took a log report only and give me a receipt, the corrupt Corporal Walters refused take a statement from me and to investigate the matter. I requested a copy of the report through Access to Information, ATI. When I got the report speak to an unknown person, yet with my first name on it, no surname and no description of me. Most interestingly, there is no complainant name on the report. How can there be a complaint report at a police station about anyone without the name of the complainant? It is my lawful right to know who the complainant is, if it is a legitimate report. Clearly this a major fraudulent corruption by the three highly corrupt police officers, Corporal G. Mana, Constable Joel Corleder and Inspector Lorna Fowler, and which I know is in conjunction with one of the police above that I reported to IPROB, trying to frame me. Clearly the Ministry of National Security under the leadership of Minister Horace Chang, Commissioner of Police Anthony Anderson, Inspector Howell of IPROB and ACP MacArthur Sutherland in charge of IPROB are highly corrupting the entire Ministry of National Security in Jamaica. Why use taxpayers' money to pay IPROB staff and it does not serve any purpose other than corruption? Jamaican judges are the biggest criminals in Jamaica selling out court cases. Supreme Court judges, Courtney Day, Carol Barnaby and Tara Carr. The 26th of March, 2024. The Jamaican court system continued to deteriorate rapidly as the worst court system in the world under siege of criminal corruption of judges selling out court cases. The Chief Justice, Brian Sykes, is a part of the corruption, who is well aware of the corruption that has been going on for years now and refused to take action to stop the corruption. Likewise the government leaders, Governor General Patrick Allen, Prime Minister Andrew Holness and Justice Minister Delroy Chuck are well aware of the corruption taking place and refused to take action to stop the corruption, in the most important institution in any country. They are all part of the corruption in Jamaica. This article is an addition to earlier published lists of corrupt judges in the Jamaican court system, clearly showing the massive gang of corrupt judges in the court system, making it one the biggest gang of criminals in Jamaica. How acceptable is it to the civilized world to know that Jamaica has one of the biggest gang of criminals performing the role of judges in the court system? Similarly, just last week the UK Privy Council overturned the murder conviction of VYBZ cartel and co-accused case, because of the same very sick and illiterate court system in Jamaica, filled with prejudice, discrimination and corruption of judges. Judge Courtney Day is one of the biggest corrupt criminals in Jamaican court. In my civil claim against the Attorney General of Jamaica, this corrupt judge used a highly unlawful application from the Attorney General to strike out my claim. The application consisted of serious breaches of civil procedure rules and major corruptions by the Attorney General and their representative, Louis Jean Hacker. Louis Jean Hacker was to be charged for perverting the course of justice. In response to his application, I filed an application to strike the Attorney General's application as unlawful before the court, with 14 breaches stated and made known to the court. Here is a copy of my application grounds. Application to strike out Defendant Attorney General's application and affidavit of the 16th of September 2019 as unlawful. In the Supreme Court of Judiciary of Jamaica. Claim No 2018 HCV 05029. Between Silva Adjuda claimant and Attorney General of Jamaica defendant. I, Silva Adjuda, the self-represented claimant, of hereby request the court to strike out the above defendant application of the 16th of September 2019 as unlawful on the following grounds. 1. The application was filed the 16th of September 2019, after my default judgment request and application for court orders were filed on the 25th of February 2019. 7 months later, after the service of the claim form and particulars of claim. Also long after the 42 days given to file defense and such application. Clear breach of Civil Procedure Rule, CPR, 10.3.1, and 9.6.3. 2. On my default judgment hearing date of the 17th of October, 2019, before Judge Leighton Pusey, the Attorney General representatives, Mr. Hacker and Mr. Hamilton, came to court advising the court about their application to be heard on the same date. However, they did not serve the application on me. Neither myself nor the judge saw the application. Clearly no date was given to the application yet. 3. The judge got a new date assigned for the hearing of the defendant application to be 29th day of April 2020 at 2 p.m. However, up to that date of 29th day of April 2020 the application was not served on me, the claimant. Clear breach of CPR 11.11(1)(a) and (b) again. 4. On the 29th day of April 2020, I noticed that the case was removed from the court list possible due to COVID, which caused major shift of things. 5. Notwithstanding COVID, the defendant's application was scheduled for hearing on the 29th day of April 2020. Must be served before. 6. The defendant attorney, Mr. Hacker, did not file a notice of adjournment to get a new date for the hearing of his application. That is major court procedure breach by the defendant representative, the same Mr. Hacker. 7. I, the claimant, filed an amended particulars of claim on the 29th of November 2019 and served it on the defendant attorney general on the said date of the 29th of November 2019. To date no defense was filed by the defendant attorney general, their second chance of filing a defense. Clear breach of CPR 10.3.1. 8. I, the claimant, filed a new default judgment request and application for court orders on the 6th of April 2022, for the absence of any defense from the defendant for the amended particulars of claim. 9. A date for my default judgment request and application for court orders was given by the registrar for the 18th day of July 2022, and served on the defendant on the 30th of May 2022. 10. At my default judgment request and court order application hearing date of the 18th of July 2022, the defendant representative, Mr. Hacker lied to the court that no date was given for the hearing of his application filed the 16th of September 2019. Clear act of perversion of justice by corrupt lawyer Hacker. 11. The defendant representative not only lied to the court but also failed to advise on admission to the court that he failed to file a major court procedure, the notice of adjournment to get a new date for the hearing of his application, before my default request and application for court orders were filed on the 6th of April 2022. He had 2 years to file notice of adjournment to get a new date for his application and failed to do so. 12. Not only did the defendant and his representative lied and breached a major court procedure, there is also clear evidence of major unscrupulous activity on the application in that it does not show any evidence of the previous court dates that was given for its hearing. It should at least show the court date given to it by Judge Leighton Pusey on the 17th of October, 2019, for hearing on the 29th of April, 2020. 13. In light of the gross unprofessional legal practice of the defendant's representative, Mr. Hacker, the application was in hiding from me from 2019 when it should have been served. It was only served on me after the court date of the 18th of July, 2022. 14. It is quite clear that the correct and lawful thing before the court for hearing is my default application and application for court order filed on the 6th of April, 2022, and correctly put before the court by the registrar. Mr. Hacker's application of the 16th of September, 2019 is totally unlawful before the court. In all of the above breaches by the corrupt Attorney General lawyer Louis Jean Hacker, his conscience took him. He did not put up any defense whatsoever to any of the breaches. He remained silent, not a word of defense. How then did this highly corrupt criminal judge, Courtney Day, arrive at striking out my claim? He is a criminal. This is the same prejudicial corruption the UK Privy Council just disgraced the Jamaican court about in the VYBZ cartel case. Louis Jean Hacker has since run away from the Attorney General office to try and escape from being charged for perversion of justice. He is however replaced by 2 other highly corrupt lawyers, Matthew Gabidon and Stephen McCreath, for the highly corrupt Attorney General Dr. Derek McCoy. Derek McCoy promotes corruption as Attorney General and trained lawyers employed to the Attorney General's office to be corrupt criminals in the court of law. In another case claim against the government, the Attorney General of Jamaica last week before the highly corrupt Judge Carol Barnaby. The corrupt lawyers Matthew Gabidon, Stephen McCreath and Romario Miller failed to serve their own application to strike out my claim, that was scheduled for hearing. As such, I was not in court because I was not served with the court application to see the court date. The failure to serve their own application is a clear breach of CPR 11.111(a) and b. That breach of CPR cannot be changed by a Supreme Court judge. Only the Court of Appeal has the power to change CPR breach with a formal appeal application before the Court of Appeal. Only to find out days later that the highly corrupt criminal Judge Carol Barnaby carried out a major act of corruption to sell out the case to the Attorney General, by ignoring the CPR breach of 11.1(a) and b, and gave them a new date for their application to be served and heard. That is a major act of criminality by this highly corrupt Judge, Carol Barnaby. The highly corrupt lawyer from the Attorney General who is involved in the case is Romario Miller, also made false defamatory statement to the court that they cannot find me and asked to serve the application by email. The jackass corrupt Judge Carol Barnaby and the corrupt lawyer Romario Miller went ahead with that in my absence, not knowing that you cannot serve an application by email in Jamaican court system, and without my permission. This corrupt Judge Carol Barnaby do not even know what is prejudice in law. The same thing the UK Privy Council talk about in VYBZ cartel case last week. In another case claim against Pines of Karachi Benevolent Society and Pearline Cooper Sharp, the well-known highly corrupt Judge Tara Carr ruled that the claim is to be refiled. That is because both Pines of Karachi Benevolent Society and Pearline Cooper Sharp corruptly refused to be served with the court documents. That does not constitute a breach of CPR. Refused to be served is not the same as not serving court document. In refused to be served, the parties were made aware of the documents to be served on them by email and telephone, but they corruptly refused to make themselves available to be served. They refused to take the court documents, and the server cannot use any unlawful way to get to serve them by even close enough to drop it at their feet. In many civil cases before and some still going on, there are defendants who refused to be served and no other judge used that as a reason to throw out a claim, saying it is to be refiled. Only a highly corrupt judge as Tara Carr would make such corrupt ruling. It is malicious because Tara Carr is a well-known corrupt judge and her name was highlighted in previous article as one of those corrupt judges selling out cases and complaints written about her. All three criminally corrupt judges, Courtney Day, Tara Carr and Carol Barnaby, once they signed off on those corrupt orders, they will be sued or dealt with by one form of justice or the other. Neither can they end the cases will go on. These highly corrupt judges failed to understand that there is no absolute judicial immunity, and the Crown Proceeding Act clearly stated that when the judge/court act maliciously in a case they can be sued as a person. These criminals do not know that their malicious corruptions are not covered by judicial immunity. Like other corrupt judges highlighted before, there were 3 formal complaints about Courtney Day, 3 about Tara Carr and 2 about Carol Barnaby, to the Chief Justice Brian Sykes. Nothing done about these corrupt criminals. These high-profile criminals are still carrying out the job of judges in the court system. What is the purpose of having a Chief Justice collecting paycheck of about $27 million per year? You put a donkey in the most expensive jacket suit, he is still a jackass. Brian Sykes has no sense of what the management of a court system is about, to give justice for all. He promotes the discrimination and corruption of judges against poor people in the court of law. That is why murders and other crimes are so high in Jamaica, because the poor people always have to find another form of justice. More corruption in Jamaica's Court of Appeal. President, Justice Patrick Brooks promotes ghetto corrupt court. Silvra Ajuda. Silvra Ajuda. Educator, public health specialist, social scientist, medical technologist. Freelance lecturer and small bus operator. The 20th of May, 2021. With corrupt judges, Mrs. MacDonald Bishop, Mrs. Nicole Foster Pusey, and Mrs. Dunbar Green. Prior to this experience, the disrespectful, gross unprofessional, and discriminatory behavior of Judge Patrick Brooks against me as a self-represented person was well documented in 2015, and his removal from hearing my case was requested and carried out. In a letter of complaint dated the 23rd of April, 2021, that I submitted in professional confidence without any publicity to President Patrick Brooks and Chief Justice Brian Sykes, the complaint against the above judges who presided over my court case in the Court of Appeal on Wednesday, the 21st of April, 2021. The hearing of my application for extension of time to appeal my medical negligence case, from the corruption carried out by Judge Opal Smith in the Sutton Street Court as in the previous article. The complaint. Another major corruption in a ghetto style of hearing of my application for extension of time to appeal in the Court of Appeal, by a highly unprofessional panel of judges headed by a real ghetto chief judge, Mrs. MacDonald Bishop, on Wednesday, the 21st of April, 2021. Panel judges, Mrs. MacDonald Bishop, Mrs. Foster Pusey, and Mrs. Dunbar Green. On Wednesday, the 21st of April, 2021, on the scheduled day of my application hearing, I went to the Court of Appeal, advised the security officer that I have a hearing there, and asked to see a copy of the court list, to see where my case was going to be heard and the panel of judges I am going before. The security officer said she does not have a list and instead sent me to the registry to find out where the case was to be heard. At the registry, I asked one of the attending registry clerks who did not seem to know, but coincidentally another clerk wearing a gown walked in and I was told the room to go to, still not given a copy of the court list. Upon being called into the courtroom by the clerk, I was pointed to and told to take a seat in a single chair seat at the side without a desk, notwithstanding there were several vacant benches in the room with desks. Immediately after taking the seat and putting some of my things on the floor, the judge in the middle of the panel started asking me questions. The first was about my affidavit and she continued asking questions to the end of the so-called hearing, which was clearly a ghetto or kangaroo style of the court hearing. She performed the role of a defense counsel instead of a judge to listen to the case first. At the end of her questions, she did not entertain anything else from me. Then she advised me that they are going to break for a few minutes for deliberation. During the deliberation time, I went to the clerk and asked for the names of the judges, at which point he handed me a copy of the court list. Then the judges returned, and again the judge in the middle handed down a ruling against my application request. She then said a judgment document will be prepared, but no date was given as to when it will be ready. Court adjourned. Clearly denied me of my constitutional rights to an appeal without any specific reason. The corruption was as follows. The judges failed to introduce themselves by giving their names first and in the absence of any name tag on their desks. I was not given my rights to present my application to the court, with the chief judge ghetto style of a court hearing by just strictly asking questions only, like a defense counsel. I was denied the right to even go through my grounds in the application. While I had no physical knowledge of who those judges were, it was discovered later that Mrs. Foster Pusey was one of the judges, who should not be on any panel to hear any of my cases. The reason being is that I had encounters with her already in her legal capacity as Solicitor General at the Office of the Attorney General, and her unprofessional corrupt-type legal practices are well known to me, in matters with her at the Attorney General's office. She should have automatically recused herself from my court case. Encounter as in the previous article. Also, Mr. Carson Hamilton, who was involved in a complaint from me at the Court of Appeal as is documented with the registrar, was in the courtroom from the beginning to end. I found that to be very intimidating. Clearly, I believe that was a clear breach of my constitutional rights, as no standard procedure was followed by the ghetto chief judge Mrs. MacDonald Bishop. In that, there was no regard for my rights as a self-represented party in hearing my application. Is it that the Court of Appeal is now a ghetto court? Kindly address this matter urgently. I would certainly appreciate your reply. While the Chief Justice remains silent on the matter to date in his usual cover-up style. Justice Partick Brooks' reply was as follows in his usual uncivilized and threatening ways. Instead of investigating the complaint and address the matter to make a better court system in keeping with civilized world standard and in light of the fact that it was not the first corruption reported. The judges of the court, as do I, reject your disrespectful letter and its scurrilous content. The memorandum of reasons for the court's decision in your case has no doubt already been delivered to you, but another is attached, a copy for your attention. The law provides for a method for appeal by litigants who are dissatisfied with the ruling of the court. That is the method that you should adopt if you are so minded, instead of insulting judicial officers and besmirching their characters. My response comments to him. Thank you for confirming your gross unprofessional behavior that was first identified in 2015 and well documented. I wish to state categorically that you have not addressed my complaint, having given you the respectful opportunity to do so. Unfortunately, it is not about what you like or don't like. It is about what you are getting paid to do as servants in the right and proper way, in keeping with the civilized world. Also, please be advised that any court system which cannot respect the rights of a self-represented person is a grossly uncivilized and corrupt court system. Your paycheck as a servant is not to protect your co-workers, but that of the customers/clients of the institution to which you are a servant of. No one beg any of you to be judges, you all take the job as a servant to get a paycheck for your survival. In light of your failure to address my complaint, I will now proceed to deal with the matter in my own way, in keeping with my constitutional rights. As such, I will most welcome you to proceed with any force, action, or victimization, whether legal or illegal, to stop me. I am neither afraid of you and any of your other corrupt judges, nor a law degree and a LEC paper. Have a good day in your ghetto uncivilized court system, sir. Continue to promote criminality in the country. The situation of corruption in Jamaican courts is worse than any other capital crime in Jamaica. While there are a few good judges in the system, the majority of Jamaican judges form a gang of corrupt judges, worse than any other criminal gang in Jamaica. They victimized you for speaking out about any of their corrupt colleagues in the gang. Clearly, the current leaders of the gangs are President Patrick Brooks and Chief Justice Brian Sykes, who are given public offices with big paychecks to address the matter, but instead they promote the gang of corrupt judges, and more criminality in Jamaica. That is what the paycheck of $18 million a year of taxpayers' money is being used for, to put poor people into slavery and to promote more alternative forms of justice, crime, in Jamaica. Hence, crime will always continue to increase in Jamaica. Any court system that cannot follow standard operating court procedures in keeping with the civilized world of justice, is either a kangaroo or a ghetto court. President Patrick Brooks is so illiterate in his behavior in that no reason was stated in the paper given to me. All that is on the paper are a few speculatory comments by the three corrupt judges. Where would the reason, come from anyway, when I was not given my rights to present my application to the court? While there was no defense, as the defendant did not show to the court, as was the case at Sutton Street Court. Similar to the corrupt Judge Opal Smith of Sutton Street, the corrupt Chief Judge at Court of Appeal, Mrs. MacDonald Bishop, acted as the defense counsel, instead of hearing my application. Having had an encounter with Justice Brooks in 2015, I had expected that he learned some respectable, intelligent ways of life since then, and a little management ethics. Especially now that he is in the very important management position as President of the Court of Appeal. Unfortunately, he does not seem to have any learning ability, and promoting a ghetto corrupt court system is his main objective. How can a court system have any integrity and credibility when Mrs. Nicole Foster Pusey, who was in the office of the Attorney General and was involved in major unprofessional corrupt-type legal practices as Solicitor General, is now a judge in the Court of Appeal? Amazingly understandable why they behave like thieves in the night by not identifying themselves to me in presiding over my case. Also Mr. Carson Hamilton, who was involved in major unprofessional corrupt behavior in breaching all Court of Appeal rules in my previous court case at the Court of Appeal, is now a judicial clerk in the Court of Appeal. Mr. Justice Minister, Delroy Chuck, is that how justice is promoted in a country. You boot them from one area of the justice ministry and put them in another to still get the big paychecks. Awesomely corrupt justice system in Jamaica. While the Chief Justice remains silent on the matter to date in his usual cover-up style. Justice Partick Brooks' reply was as follows in his usual uncivilized and threatening ways. Instead of investigating the complaint and address the matter to make a better court system in keeping with civilized world standard and in light of the fact that it was not the first corruption reported. The judges of the court, as do I, reject your disrespectful letter and its scurrilous content. The memorandum of reasons for the court's decision in your case has no doubt already been delivered to you, but another is attached, a copy for your attention. The law provides for a method for appeal by litigants who are dissatisfied with the ruling of the court. That is the method that you should adopt if you are so minded, instead of insulting judicial officers and besmirching their characters. My response comments to him. Thank you for confirming your gross unprofessional behavior that was first identified in 2015 and well documented. I wish to state categorically that you have not addressed my complaint, having given you the respectful opportunity to do so. Unfortunately, it is not about what you like or don't like. It is about what you are getting paid to do as servants in the right and proper way, in keeping with the civilized world. Also, please be advised that any court system which cannot respect the rights of a self-represented person is a grossly uncivilized and corrupt court system. Your paycheck as a servant is not to protect your co-workers, but that of the customers / clients of the institution to which you are a servant of. No one beg any of you to be judges, you all take the job as a servant to get a paycheck for your survival. In light of your failure to address my complaint, I will now proceed to deal with the matter in my own way, in keeping with my constitutional rights. As such, I will most welcome you to proceed with any force, action, or victimization, whether legal or illegal, to stop me. I am neither afraid of you and any of your other corrupt judges, nor a law degree and a LEC paper. Have a good day in your ghetto uncivilized court system, sir. Continue to promote criminality in the country. The situation of corruption in Jamaican courts is worse than any other capital crime in Jamaica. While there are a few good judges in the system, the majority of Jamaican judges form a gang of corrupt judges, worse than any other criminal gang in Jamaica. They victimized you for speaking out about any of their corrupt colleagues in the gang. Clearly, the current leaders of the gangs are President Patrick Brooks and Chief Justice Brian Sykes, who are given public offices with big paychecks to address the matter, but instead they promote the gang of corrupt judges, and more criminality in Jamaica. That is what the paycheck of $18 million a year of taxpayers' money is being used for. To put poor people into slavery and to promote more alternative forms of justice, crime, in Jamaica. Hence, crime will always continue to increase in Jamaica. Any court system that cannot follow standard operating court procedures in keeping with the civilized world of justice, is either a kangaroo or a ghetto court. President Patrick Brooks is so illiterate in his behavior in that no reason was stated in the paper given to me. All that is on the paper are a few speculatory comments by the three corrupt judges. Where would the reason, come from anyway when I was not given my rights to present my application to the court? While there was no defense, as the defendant did not show to the court, as was the case at Sutton Street Court. Similar to the corrupt Judge Opal Smith of Sutton Street, the corrupt Chief Judge at Court of Appeal, Mrs. MacDonald Bishop, acted as the defense counsel, instead of hearing my application. Having had an encounter with Justice Brooks in 2015, I had expected that he learned some respectable intelligent ways of life since then and a little management ethics. especially now that he is in the very important management position as President of the Court of Appeal. Unfortunately, he does not seem to have any learning ability, and promoting a ghetto-corrupt court system is his main objective. How can a court system have any integrity and credibility when Mrs. Nicole Foster Pusey, who was in the office of the Attorney General and was involved in major unprofessional corrupt-type legal practices as Solicitor General, is now a judge in the Court of Appeal? Amazingly understandable why they behave like thieves in the night by not identifying themselves to me in presiding over my case. Also Mr. Carson Hamilton, who was involved in major unprofessional corrupt behavior in breaching all Court of Appeal rules in my previous court case at the Court of Appeal, is now a judicial clerk in the Court of Appeal. Mr. Justice Minister, Delroy Chuck, is that how justice is promoted in a country? You boot them from one area of the justice ministry and put them in another to still get the big paychecks. Awesomely corrupt justice system in Jamaica. Bomb threat and more corruption in Jamaican court. Silvra Ajuda. Silvra Ajuda. Educator, public health specialist, social scientist, medical technologist. Freelance lecturer and small bus operator. The 24th of March, 2022. This is as in the email letter sent to the Chief Justice of Jamaica below. Complaint against another major criminal corruption at Sutton Street Court of Missing Court File. Yahoo. Sent. Silvra Ajuda. To Brian Sykes, CC, Prime Minister of Jamaica. The Office of His Excellency the Governor General. Delroy Chuck. Mark Golding. yanella.perseus@allegedly.com. And one more. Wed, the 23rd of March at 2:48 p.m. Hun Justice Brian Sykes, Chief Justice of Jamaica, Supreme Court, Kingston, Jamaica. Dear Justice Sykes, my court case scheduled for trial yesterday the 22nd of March, 2022, in the Sutton Street Court, case #CA 2020 CV03186. On Tuesday, the 22nd of March, 2022, I appeared punctually at Sutton Street Court #3 for my scheduled court trial hearing. At about 10:30 a.m. upon the calling of the case, I was told along with one of the defendants and her representative lawyer by the judge that the court file did not come to the court and cannot be found. One of the defendants did not show up. The case was stood down to give time for further search of the file while another part heard matter was to be completed. At about 15 minutes later we were called back into court and told that the file is still not found. However, we were asked to leave the building immediately and wait outside as there was a bomb threat received. The police officers at the court told us to go over to the car park. However, upon me going to the car park, I was told by a man who appears to be a police officer not in uniform and a lady in black that I have to get out of the car park as it is only for court staff and judges. I asked him where I should go. He said, "I don't know, go on the road," and issued a lock-up threat to me if I don't get out. I moved my car on the road to wait. At about 12:15 p.m. I was told the bomb squad said the building is cleared of the bomb threat. The staff went back to work. However, we the clients were told that courts will resume at 2 p.m. Another long time to wait. Appallingly, the car park is about at least a half-acre of land. Why couldn't it be cordoned off into two halves to facilitate the court staff and the clients? Oh, the clients were of no importance. Notwithstanding it is a civil court and not a criminal court. Secondly, the staff went back to work at 12:15 p.m. Why then they had to be given another 1 hour and 45 minutes for lunch while the clients had to sit and wait in the sun. At 2 p.m. I went back to the courtroom. No one else was there until about 2:30 p.m. when the court resumed. Upon calling my case, I was the only one there as the other parties did not come back. The judge said she will have to reschedule the case as the other parties are not there and the court file still has not been found. A new date was set for the 26th of October, 2022. The trial date was set from the 7th of May, 2021, approximately 1 year of waiting on a trial as a plaintiff. Why was no intense search made prior to the court date to prepare for a trial after waiting so long? Had any preparation been made prior to the court date and the file could not be found, why weren't the litigants not contacted to bring in their copies of the documents and reconstruct the file to proceed with the trial as scheduled? No effort was made even yesterday to reconstruct the file. A file with only about 10 pages to copy. This is not a justice system, it is an injustice, corrupt system to the decent law-abiding citizens of this country who are the ones who have to suffer the consequences of all of the corruption. I hereby request to you, Chief Justice Brian Sykes, for the second time, to have JAMAICA investigate the dirty criminal corruption taking place at the Sutton Street Court. Look forward to your early reply, sir. Yours truly. Silvra Ajuda, Mr. Self-represented litigant. For international publication also.